All right, so what I would do is I would put the subject on the left-hand side of the line, the verb on the right-hand side, and then the direct object gets attached to the right of both of those using one of these. So that's our basic sentence structure. If we take this one, we've got two subjects. We've got he agape and kai he pistis. So we've got two things that both together function as a subject. It's called a compound subject. So we want to we want to put them like this. So I'm going to take he agape and try and get it. Okay, it should lock into place here. There we go. So my subject is he agape and he pistis, the two things that are in the nominative case. So if you weren't sure they're in the nominative case, agape is fairly easy to recognize. It's got the distinctive alpha ending of a first declension. I'm getting a bit of feedback from somebody's mic, so why don't you just mute if you're not muted, and then just unmute if you want to speak. So the way we know that it's nominative, this is your typical first declension. You can see the alpha ending, which is the stem of the word with no case ending, and the article he, which we know is nominative feminine singular, is a confirmatory clue. Yeah, the ending is less obvious because pistis is third declension, so it doesn't have the typical omicron or alpha eta distinctives. It's got niota, but the article is still a dead giveaway. We know it's nominative feminine singular from he that goes with it. Okay. All right, so essentially, he agape, kai, and, so I'll put the joiner over there. He agape, kai, he pistis are compound subjects over here. I think we're going to do this. All right. De is just a conjunction that's joining my sentence to everything else. I'll move that down, and de as the sentence joining conjunction would go at the top there. So the love and the faith, now it's the love of God. The genitive will go over here because it's modifying. Doesn't work so well when you don't choose a verse. This whole thing is designed for you to work from a verse, and I've just pasted text in, so I'm going to manipulate manually a bit more. Okay, stretch that. All right, so it's he agape tou theou, the love of God, kai, and he pistis, eston Iesun, is quite unusually. Normally prepositions modify verbs, but in this case it's modifying the noun, the faith in Christ Jesus. He pistis, faith in Christ Jesus. So prepositional phrases, we diagram the same as genitives initially. We put the preposition like that, and then the object of the preposition goes after a direct object marker, which is this guy. Okay, so I'm going to put that down like that. Normally we don't have to do quite so much manual manipulation of the text. All right, so it is the love of God and the faith in Christ Jesus, or faith in Christ Jesus, possibly the faithfulness. This word can be either of those. There's no verb, as we can see. So the verb is omitted. I'll put a typical normal thing, and then to show that the verb is omitted in my diagram, I'm going to put this guy. When the verb is omitted, we assume that it is some form of to be. So this is either the love of God and the faith or faithfulness and faith in Christ Jesus are to you, belong to you, or more likely it's a wish, in which case we understand that the missing verb is may they be to you. So may the love of God and faith in Christ Jesus be, which would be not an indicative form of to be, but nevertheless to you. But essentially that's our sentence. Questions?
Is this not a case of maybe being able to use estin?
Yes, estin is what's missing. So it's a version of estin that's missing. What you are left to infer, and we don't have context here because the sentence is given in isolation, is what form of estin would it be? If it's an indicative, then it is saying the love of God and the faith in Christ Jesus, esin, so it would be plural because we've got a compound subject. Esin, they are to you, or they belong to you, would be the sense. But more likely, it is going to be a wish, in which case the form of estin would change from an indicative to a subjunctive, and what's missing then is may the love of God and faith in Christ Jesus be to you. Make sense?
Thanks, yeah.
Right, so we would be looking at a slightly different form of that. Let's rename you 11.11. Any other questions?
Why is it so easy when you do it, and when we try it's not so easy?
Now, I've had a few more hours over my lifetime spent practicing this stuff. This is not easy. It takes a bit of getting used to how the whole thing works. Pistis, by the way, is from a word that used to end in consonantal iota. So we have pisti. The stem could be pisti or piste, as it will appear to us. And then our case endings are added to those. So in this case, quite often your nominative singular case ending is sigma. That's how we get pistis here. But you need to recognize that that iota used to be a consonantal iota. So although we're looking at a third declension noun, which normally ends in a consonant, it doesn't look like it when you see the iota immediately before the case ending. But that's a legacy of a lost consonantal iota, which often now remains either as iota or epsilon in different forms. So if I typed out all the forms of these, we'd get pistis, and then we'd get pisteos for the genitive singular, and then we'd get piste with iota for the dative singular, and then when I get to the accusative, it becomes pistin. What you can see is that stem vowel is going to change. There's a rule, but it's not worth learning. That stem vowel is going to change and alternate between iota and epsilon in the different forms. Once you recognize that, it's not hard to recognize the forms. We've got sigma, which is diagnostic of the nominative singular. Os, the third declension genitive singular case ending, is normally os. So if you recognize os and os as being related, that's pretty straightforward. Iota is the normal case ending. Nu is a normal. For third declensions, it's a secondary, but it's fairly normal in a sense that it's common in other forms as well. Case ending for a dative an accusative singular. So just be aware of those adjustments to pistis. All right, let's do 11.12. I don't think we're working from specific verses here, so we'll no, that's ridiculous. Come on. Let's give you Matthew 1 verse 1. That'll do fine. All right, so 11:12. We didn't do that last week as far as I can remember. Here's the sentence in Greek. Is my mouse pointing at to at the very start of the sentence as you see it?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So we got tothelema. Thelema means will. Tothelema, the will. Tutheu, of God. Hemon, our, the God of us. So our God. Estin is. Ina. Ina means in order that. Te Roman, we may keep. Tas entolas, the commandments. Tas agathas, the good ones. Our two, of him. Fairly straightforward sentence. The will of God, Hemon, our God, Estin is, Hina te Roman, that we may keep, Tas entolas, Tas agathas, the commandments, the good ones. In English, we would say the good commandments. We would always say the, then the adjective, and then the noun that's being modified. So you would say the agathas, entolas. Greek often does that. But the other way Greek can say exactly the same thing is to duplicate the article and put the adjective at the end. So you can say, literally, the commandments, the good ones, means the same thing as the good commandments. Mounce probably refers to these as the two of the attributive positions. Our two, of him. So it's his commandments. We'll begin with a normal sentence line. So we're going to look to put the subject on the left. The verb is straightforward, it's estin. The subject is thelema, to thelema. So the will, thelema, is a third declension noun. Don't be fooled by the alpha on the end. Look at the article with it. You can see that that's neuter. The alpha might lead you to believe that you're looking at a first declension and therefore a feminine, but the article should remove any remaining doubt that this is a first declension feminine, even with the alpha ending. So essentially, thelema is a third declension noun. We can see that it's neuter. The stem is thelemat. Can I push enter inside this? No. Okay. So the stem would be thelemat, much like nouns like pneuma and quite a few others. And then what happens is there's no case ending for the nominative and accusative singular. So thelemat plus nothing. Tau will not stand on the end of a word, so tau drops out and we get thelema. This could be nominative or accusative. For neuter nouns, the nominative and accusative forms are always the same. Okay, so in this case, it's nominative. We know it's nominative because estin only works with nominatives, even if it was the predicate. So tothelema is the subject. Tutheu is modifying the subject. So what I can do is just show that thus. So tothelema, tutheu, the will. Whose will? The genitive telling me the answer to whose? The will of God. Which God? Our God. The will of the God of us, or the will of our God. Estin, ina. So normally now what we would have is we'd have a direct object, or in the case of estin, a predicate nominative. A direct object, we'd put a vertical line here. For the predicate nominative, we'll use the slanted line. So we'd normally now have a noun here in the nominative case that would complete this sentence, maybe an adjective in some instances. But in this case, what we've got is an entire clause that's filling this spot. So the will of God is that we may keep his commandments. All right, so to do that, and don't worry about this, we're going to use one of these guys. So the will of God is hina, and then I'm going to put te Roman, that we may keep. That's a verb, so the direct object of that verb is his commandments. Tas agathas, as an adjective in the attributive position. It's modifying commandments, entolas. Entolas is a first declension form. You can see the diagnostic alpha ending, and the sigma does two purposes for first declension. It could be it could be genitive singular or accusative plural, but tas, the article, is clearly accusative plural, so we know this is the commandments, and logically we can see it's functioning as the object of the verb we may keep. Alright, so we may keep. Non-verbals are diagrammed using this stuff, so the commandments, the good ones. So the logic so far is that we may keep the good commandments. Alright, whose good commandments? His good commandments. And that's our sentence. So the will of God, our God, is, normally we would have a word here, but this entire thing over here, this entire thing from here onwards is functioning as if it were the predicate. It's telling us what the will is. So this entire thing occupies the slot. So the will of God is that we may keep, and their direct object, his good commandments. Questions? Am I going too fast, or is this helpful to see how the sentences fit together?
It's very helpful.
Okay, number 14. I just want to see if that's a verse reference, because it'll make my life easier if it is. One Clement. No, one Clement is not a verse that this will be able to draw in. Okay, so let's go back to number 14. Number 14 of chapter 11 is a little bit longer. I'll type it here, read it to you quickly, and then we... Alright. Uch hena theon echomen. Echomen means we have. Kai hena Christon. Hena means one. So this is not we have, and it's going to be a question, I think. So do we not have? Uch echomen. Do we not have? Hena theon, one God. Kai hena Christon, and one Christ. Kai hen pneuma, and one Spirit. Tes charitos, from charis, grace. Charitos. Let's just talk about that for
I think we've lost Kevin.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry man, my computer has crashed and it's busy rebooting, so I've quickly rejoined via my phone, but I don't have any text on my phone that I can talk to. So that is a pain. Well, hopefully this thing will eventually reboot. Any comments or questions? Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes. Kevin, I do have a question that's a little bit unrelated to what we've been chatting about now.
Yeah, go for it, Craig.
Colin. But
Colin, sorry.
To do with prophetes, which is, when I was doing my assignments, I saw that it's a first declension masculine noun, and but it seemed to operate like a second declension in that it took all the second declension case endings.
Yeah, that's right. There are quite a few nouns like that. Most of them will be masculine names. So a man's name that is first declension in form, but masculine in gender. And they function a little bit in the gray area between the two types. So in the case of prophetes, which is a good example, if you look in the dictionary, it'll be listed as prophetes ou, which is your genitive singular. We recognize logos ou. Ha, telling us it's masculine. So it'll be prophetes. If it were first declension feminine, it wouldn't have that sigma ending on the end. So whenever you encounter one of these first declension nouns that the nominative singular ends in a sigma like it does here, it's almost always one of these first declension masculine ones. And it seems like that sigma on the end is borrowed from the first declension case ending. I think you observed that already. Prophetes instead of prophete. The genitive singular will be anomalous. It's exactly borrowed from the second declension. So prophetou instead of what you would get in a normal first declension noun would be prophetes as the genitive singular. But after that, they pretty much behave as if they were first declension nouns ending in eta or alpha. So the dative singular will be prophete. The accusative singular prophetain, the nominative plural prophetai, not prophetoi, as if it were a second declension. The genitive plural is never helpful because the own case ending overwrites everything. And then prophetais, again, more first declension than second declension. So they behave pretty much like first declension nouns everywhere except the nominative and genitive singular. There aren't dozens of them amongst normal words. So prophetes is one of the ones that we have. There's another one that's quite common, mathetes, disciple, in our literature. Mathetes is pretty common, and that behaves exactly the same way. But quite a lot of the rest will be names like Andreas, Andreu,